Hello, my Italian food fanatics. Today we're going to make a Sicilian orange cake. It's the real deal. It's a genuine Sicilian orange cake in the sense that it is very simple, it's easy to put together, but most importantly, it's delicious. Before we go into the kitchen, please thumbs up, subscribe, hit that bell button so that you know when I release a video. Share with your friends. Remember, sharing is caring. And leave a comment down below if you have a moment. Also, if I've inspired you to make something that I've made on the channel and you want a shout out, please contact me on Instagram at Chef Argenti. Send me your name, your photographs of the dish that you've made, and I'm happy to feature you on a future episode of Italian Food Fanatics. All right, let's not waste any more time. Let's get into the kitchen and make this Sicilian orange cake. It's gonna be delicious. All right, first things first. We need to remove our butter from the refrigerator about 2 or 3 hours before we want to start. We want the butter to be very soft so that we can cream it with the sugar. Next, you want to preheat the oven to 350 degrees. After that's all done, we want to gather all of our ingredients and our mise en place, and I will do that and come back. All right, to cook our cake, we're going to need a spring-form pan. That's one of these things where it opens up. And of course, we need some parchment paper, and this is the bottom of the spring-form pan. I'm going to make a round disc of this parchment paper by taking a pencil, tracing around, folding it over, and then cutting a half a moon. And of course, you don't want the lead from the pencil in there. So I'll do that and come back. All right, so here's our circle. I'm just going to cut around, and then we're going to fold this over in half and then cut in a half moon like I mentioned earlier. Alternatively, you can fold it into quarters and cut around, or you can fold it once more, and that makes it very easy to basically go on the inside of the mark, and there you go. So now we have a round that will fit on the bottom of the spring-form pan, just like this. And here it is. And there's our piece of paper. It fits in perfectly, the parchment. So now we have to gather all of our other ingredients, and I'll do that and come back. All right, the other ingredients that we're going to need for our cake is cake flour. It has a very low, a little bit over 11% gluten, and that's very important to make it soft. We also have baking powder and a little bit of salt. We'll need 4 eggs and a couple of oranges. We are going to zest and juice the oranges, and we're going to use both the zest and the juice, obviously. And we have our caster sugar or granulated sugar. And for our icing, we're also going to use the juice of the lemons, and we're going to use powdered or confectioner's sugar, but we'll get to that after the cake has been baked. So let me zest these, and we'll take care of the eggs. We want to take the baking powder and the salt, put it into the flour, and with a whisk, mix it up very, very well so it's fully incorporated. I'll do all of this and come back. So we have our flour and our baking powder and a little bit of salt. That goes into here, and it gets incorporated extremely well. And we're just going to hold this for a little while until our wet ingredients are done, and then we're going to fold in the flour. And now we'll zest our oranges. I have a very good zester. I've had it for many, many years. Very small holes, and so when you do zest, you don't get any of the pith. Isn't that amazing? I don't know where to find them. I don't know where I got this, but I just got lucky to get it. You can use a microplane grater as well, but this to me is a little bit more convenient because you can get the whole side of the orange without having to go back and forth. So I will zest these, and then we're going to chop these up into smaller or finer pieces so we don't have these long stringy things in the cake. And once the oranges have been zested, we can juice them, and it's a lot easier to get the full or maximum amount of juice out of any citrus fruit like oranges, lemons, or limes after the fruit has been zested. All right, I'll do that and we'll come back. All right, now let's deal with our eggs. These are organic free-range eggs. The color of the shell is indicative of the breed of the chicken. The color of the yolk is indicative of the feed that the chicken was given. So you can manipulate the color of the yolk, but you cannot manipulate the color of the shell. Of course, you could breed two chickens together and create a hybrid, which they've done. That would change the color of the shell. But in general, the color of the shell is not an indicator of quality of the egg. It's just the breed. What I like to do is I like to break the egg into one bowl, make sure there's no anomalies in there, and then add it into the final bowl. That way, if any shells get in, they're easily removed. If this gets contaminated for whatever reason, we can throw away the one egg instead of breaking it into a bunch of other eggs and contaminating everything. So it's a way of ensuring purity and cleanliness when we work with eggs. I'll do the rest and we'll come back. All right, now we are going to cream our butter and sugar together, and that is going to be done with a hand mixer like this. I know I don't want to use a stand mixer because some people may not have one, but I'm sure everybody has a hand mixer like this. I've bought the least expensive one I could find. I've bought very expensive ones and they've broken on me. I prefer now to buy the least expensive one that I can get away with. And if something happens to it after who knows how long, a few years, we just throw it out and buy another one. It's not worth it spending 5 times. I think this cost me $20. The last one that I bought was more expensive. It was about $100. If this breaks, I just throw it out and buy another one. I can buy 5 of these in place of one of those. They're made for the home, and so they're not industrial quality, and that's the reason why I've made the decision that I did. So all we do is start in and pour our sugar in. And we're going to beat this until it's extremely light colored and fluffy. And I'll come back when that's done. Now, occasionally when you're doing this, you're going to have to take a spatula and clean down the sides so that we can get everything incorporated. All right, now once our butter and sugar has been creamed, we'll begin to add the eggs one at a time. We'll add one egg, make sure that it's fully incorporated, and then add the second, third, and fourth egg. Now, reasonable thinking would say that why don't you just add all 4 eggs at once? It's just going to get incorporated. Why not just do that? The reality is, number 1, if you add 1 at a time, they get incorporated faster than if you add all 4 at the same time, and it gives us a better product in the end. So we've incorporated the 1. In fact, I still have a little bit more to do here. I will do the other 3 and come back, but that's the reason why you should do 1 at a time. Once our eggs have been fully incorporated and we have wiped down the sides of the bowl, it now is time to add in our zest. Let's get all of it in there because that's some good stuff. We'll incorporate the zest and then I'll be back. All right, our zest has been incorporated, and now we are going to add in the last of our wet ingredients. We mix all the wet ingredients together first, and then we add in the dry ingredients, which is the flour, the baking powder, and the salt, and we mix it all together to create the batter. So, sugar, yes, sugar is a wet ingredient, believe it or not, because when heat is added, it will liquefy. That's the reason why sugar is a wet, or considered a wet ingredient. We'll now mix this in little by little, and now we'll scrape down the sides and then fold in our dry ingredients. We're going to put all of the flour in at once and gently fold it in. It's the overbeating and overworking of the batter that will make the cake tough. We don't want that. So I will mix this in, and we will come back in just a moment. Okay, all of the flour has been gently incorporated into the wet ingredients, and now we'll turn our attention to our springform pan. We'll take the pan, and we're going to use this product, Pam Baking, made with flour. It's a perfect release. It's an excellent product. I'm not being paid. It's not an endorsement. But what you want to do is you want to spray the inside of the springform pan liberally with this spray, and that will ensure that it will release. It's just as good, if not better, than and less cumbersome than taking butter and putting it on the inside and then flour. So if you don't have access to this particular product, that's what you can do. Next, we'll spoon in our batter. I'm not going to bore you with this. I'll do it, and I'll come back to show you what it looks like once we smooth it out. All right, now that our cake has been smoothed out as well as possible, we're going to give it a couple of taps like this to ensure there's no big air bubbles in there. It now will go into a 350-degree oven for between 45 minutes and an hour, or until we put a toothpick or a skewer, a wooden skewer, into the center part of it and it comes out clean. And I'll be back when that's accomplished. Middle rack, by the way. Okay, it's been about an hour, and if we take a stick or toothpick, or in this case a kebab stick, and put it inside, you can see that in the deepest part it comes out clean. That means the cake is done. Look how it's separated from the sides. That spray does an excellent job. We'll now let it cool down. In fact, we're going to let it cool down overnight, and then we'll make it even across the top tomorrow and put a glaze on it, an orange glaze. See you tomorrow. Okay, welcome back to the next day, and here is our cake. It's rested overnight. It cooled down, I covered it, and I put it in the refrigerator. So it's time to unmold it, which, because of the spray that we used, is very, very easy to do. And of course, because of the piece of paper, taking the bottom out is also a snap. Now what we have to do is flatten it and make it even so that our glaze will go on the cake very nicely. There's two ways to do that. There's the very easy way, and that is by buying something like this. And there's a more difficult way, and that is using a knife. This takes a lot of practice. In fact, even on the higher levels of cake decorating, what professionals will do is they will cut the top of the cake off and then invert it upside down in order to hide any imperfections, because it's almost impossible to cut straight, unless, of course, you have some sort of a template or something that holds the knife at this one level, and then you can go across, and it would be all the way around the cake that would support the knife. This is an easier way of doing it. It's a cheap thing that, again, I'm not sponsored by this company, Wilton, but it has a wire that goes across that keeps the wire at a specific height, and you can just come across the cake this way and cut the top off and make it even. Okay, I've decided to show you how we can do this by taking this Wilton gadget. We hold it here like this, and we can either hold the cake and pull this through, which is my preferred method, or we can hold this and push the cake through, just like this. You're going to have to saw a little bit because this cake is cold. It makes doing this a little bit more difficult than if it were at room temperature. It's tough to talk and do this exactly the same time. But there you go. So now we have basically a cake that is level. All right, now it's not exactly level here because it goes down a little bit, but if I move it down one more notch, it's going to take too much of the cake off. So we have to be happy with this. If we were going to invert this cake, this would be perfect. But I'm going to actually keep it this way because of the curvature of the cake. Turning it upside down and putting the glaze on it doesn't look right. So let me clean this all up, and I will be back and we'll make the glaze. All right, let's make our glaze. What we're going to need is a sifter. We need a bowl. We need confectioner's sugar or powdered sugar. We're going to need some fresh squeezed orange juice, which is what we have here, and a whisk. That's it. What we're going to do is we're going to take the confectioner's or the powdered sugar and we're going to sift it into this bowl. You need to do that to break up any clumps that may be there and make it as smooth as possible, because when we add the orange juice, we want it to be very, very smooth and just spreadable. You can see there isn't a lot of orange juice. We don't want it very watery. We want it extremely viscous. And for that, the reason for that is just because we want the icing to just go over the edge of the cake and stay there. All right, and create a beautiful like waterfall of icing. I'll show you what I mean. I think you know what I mean, but I'll show you what it all amounts to in a minute. Let me sift this and we'll be back. All right, if you don't know how to sift, I just basically take some, put it in here, and then we're going to lightly tap and move the sifter back and forth until the powdered or icing sugar falls through. That's it. I'll be back when it's done. All right, now that our flour is sifted, we're going to add in our orange juice. And again, it's a very, very small amount of orange juice. And there's a reason for that, as I've mentioned. We want this to be very, very thick and viscous. Now we'll mix it in, and I'll be back when we're done. All right. You see how thick this is? It is extremely thick. And you're going to think that, oh, there's just no way it's not going to spread or anything like that. But trust me, it will. And that's what we're looking for. Almost less than lava-like, or almost lava-like. Very, very slow moving. That's perfect right there. All right? So now let's glaze the cake. In fact, I've got a little bits here. We're going to let this sit for about 5 minutes so that the powdered sugar can fully absorb the orange juice. We'll be back. All right, we're back. We're going to peel the piece of paper off the back of the cake, and that happens so easily and nicely because of the spray again. And now we're going to place this on our cake stand. Just like this. Perfect. And now, using this offset spatula. Attico sells them. They're very, again, I'm not sponsored by them, but they're very inexpensive, and you should own one, regardless. If you do pastry or you don't, they come in handy for a variety of different uses. So now we just put this on top. Now the key in making this work is not allowing the spatula to touch the cake, especially when you're spreading the icing. The reason for that is because if you do that, the little bits of cake will get into the icing and it will not look good. And now finally, after you have put the glaze on, you just let it sit for a while and it will smooth out on its own, and it will come down and drip down and give us this look that which is what we want, kind of like a lava flow over the cake. And there you have it. Now it's time to go taste. Hello, my Italian food fanatics. Well, you saw me cut the slice out and put it on the plate, and here it is. Now it's time to taste to see if it's any good. The cake is very light. It's nice. A tremendous orange flavor. You can obviously taste everything. We didn't add vanilla or anything like that either. Let's just taste without the glaze. I put a lot of orange zest in there, and you know it when you taste it. It's perfect. It's perfectly moist. It's not too moist. It's not dense. It's light. It's airy. It's very, very refreshing. It's the perfect summer cake. Very simple to make, as you saw. You could have this in the morning with a cup of espresso, or in the afternoon with some tea or coffee as well, or in the morning, or even after dinner. After a nice dinner, you wait about a half an hour and then bring this out, especially in the summer. Anyway, I'm going to eat the rest of this piece. Before I do, though, please thumbs up, subscribe, hit the bell button, share with your friends. Remember, sharing is caring. And leave a comment down below if you have a moment to do so. I want to thank you very much for watching my channel, for looking at my videos. Wherever you're in the world, I hope you're having a great day. I wish you nothing but good health, happiness, and prosperity. Thank you. See you in the next video.